You're standing at the edge of dry dock in Busan, South Korea. The air smells faintly of iron, salt, and something else, absence. What used to be a roar of progress is now a whisper of decline. The cranes still stand tall, but their arms hang low. Welding torches lie cold. And workers who once built the lifelines of global commerce now wait for orders that no longer come. It's not just a lull, it's a takeover. Because while the rest of the world blinked, China seized control of an industry that powers globalization itself. Before we dive into the how, don't forget, if global dominance in shipbuilding can change hands in just 15 years, imagine what else could shift. So hit that like button, subscribe for more unfiltered global analysis, and let's dissect the rise of China's maritime empire together. How the global shipbuilding used to be. For decades, global shipbuilding wasn't just business. It was a badge of national pride. The U.S. once had the largest yards in the world, pumping out warships and merchant vessels like wartime sausages. Germany mastered high-spec, engineering-rich ships with Teutonic precision. And Japan? They dominated with scale, automation, and sheer efficiency. But none held the throne quite like South Korea. Hyundai Heavy, Daewoo, and Samsung weren't just industrial names. They were temples of steel and speed. From oil tankers to car carriers, South Korea built the backbone of global trade. They competed not just on cost, but on speed, safety, and ship longevity. They became the gold standard. But even kings get tired. And as they defended their crowns with tradition and efficiency, a silent juggernaut was gearing up in the background: China. No one really noticed at first. Chinese yards were rough, chaotic, and deeply subsidized. Their quality was questionable, their systems clunky. But like a quiet tide, they were rising. Around 2005, Chinese companies began aggressively hiring foreign shipbuilding experts, investing in dry docks, and snapping up global ship orders at discounted prices. It was seen as a joke at first. Why order from a rookie yard when you could go with the Korean veterans? But China wasn't playing to win today. It was playing to dominate tomorrow. By 2010, that tomorrow had arrived. In that single decade, China leapfrogged nearly every industrial player in the maritime game. Orders shifted, ports got busier, yards expanded, and global customers started noticing. The quality gap was closing, the prices were unbeatable, and the delivery timelines? Nearly half as long. China didn't just compete, they flipped the rules. What was once a club of elite nations had become a one-man show. South Korea still fought. Japan scaled back. The US quietly bowed out. And China? They weren't looking back. The plan wasn't an accident. What happened wasn't capitalism on steroids. It was strategy on steroids. Beijing doesn't move chaotically. Every major industrial conquest is the product of planning, paperwork, and policy. In 2006, shipbuilding was officially declared a strategic industry by China's State Council. That phrase alone changed everything. It meant access to virtually unlimited state funding, land, talent, and political support. From that moment, banks were told to lend aggressively. Coastal provinces were instructed to create industrial parks with shipyards at the center. Universities revised curriculum to prioritize naval architecture. Local bureaucrats were incentivized to hit ship output quotas. This wasn't a shipbuilding campaign, it was industrial war. And unlike democracies debating every budget allocation, China moved with a single voice and single purpose. State-owned enterprises like Seats SC and CSIC later merged, received billions in subsidies and tech upgrades. Foreign experts were imported, often with six-figure salaries, to teach local engineers. Innovation was stolen, borrowed, or built from scratch. And as the West exported its manufacturing playbook to chase cheap labor, China took notes and rewrote it in Mandarin. By the time the global financial crisis rocked the West, China's shipyards were humming. While Western companies cut back and downsized, China doubled production and locked in long-term deals with global shipping conglomerates. They undercut competitors so fiercely that even quality-focused clients couldn't ignore the offer. Profit margins were thin, but China wasn't aiming for profit. It was aiming for supremacy. And that's the real twist. China didn't need its shipyards to be profitable right away. They only needed to kill the competition. Because once you're the last builder standing, you set the price. China's massive shipyards. Step inside Jiangnan Shipyard or Dalian's vast docks today, and your assumptions will crumble. These aren't the rust-covered, labor-intensive sites of the past. They are integrated ecosystems of steel, sensors, and software. Picture drones mapping hull curvature, AI allocating workflows, and robots welding seams with eerie precision. From above, it looks like a computer chip, orderly, clean, and calculated. Unlike Western yards, which expanded organically over time, China built many of theirs from scratch, optimized for efficiency from day one. That meant smarter layouts, vertically integrated logistics, and minimal downtime between builds. Materials flow like clockwork. Labor is tracked with biometric scanners. And every single ship is monitored in real time through digital twin technology, enabling simulations, modifications, and predictive maintenance before the ship even touches water. Even lunch breaks are optimized. Workers are fed in sprawling cafeterias with automated food lines, facial recognition access, and nutrition planning to reduce fatigue. Safety protocols are drilled, timed, and enforced with military-like rigor. It's not just productivity, it's orchestration. And here's what makes it terrifying for global rivals. These yards don't only produce merchant ships. They produce warships, drone ships, and everything in between. Civilian orders subsidize military development, and vice versa. Every build strengthens two fleets at once, the commercial and the naval. So when you say Chinese shipbuilding, you're not describing an industry. You're describing a machine, one that never sleeps. Scale that breaks your brain. In 2023, Chinese shipyards accounted for more than 50% of global shipbuilding output by tonnage. That's not a typo. Half of all the ships built globally came from one country. Every week, a new container ship slides into water. Every month, a new class of LNG tanker is born. The scale is staggering and continues to expand. And these aren't just little vessels. We're talking megafreighters that span longer than Eiffel Towers laid flat. Each can carry tens of thousands of containers. Each container, a small slice of global commerce. Chinese yards now routinely deliver these giants in cycles that once took years. It's like watching skyscrapers float off assembly lines. To support this volume, entire cities have been reorganized. Logistics highways funnel steel straight to docks. Power grids prioritize shipyards over other sectors. Specialized rail lines transport prefabricated hull sections across provinces. When China commits to industrial supremacy, the entire country bends to support it. And here's the thing, this isn't a bubble. China isn't just reacting to global demand. It's creating it. By offering cheaper financing, faster delivery, and port deals bundled with ship orders, it has created an end-to-end maritime service empire. It's not just about building ships. It's about dominating every part of the value chain. So when the rest of the world scratches their heads about how to revive domestic industry, China is already finishing next month's fleet. How China locked in the entire maritime supply chain. It wasn't just ships that China took over, it was everything around them. While most nations focused on the vessel itself, China quietly bundled the full maritime ecosystem. Engines? Built in China. Propellers? Forged in-house. Navigation systems, safety mechanisms, onboard electronics, even the dam paint. China ensured these could all be sourced domestically or through state-linked suppliers. They didn't just cut costs, they cut out foreign dependence. This bundling strategy makes Chinese-built ships irresistible for foreign buyers. Want a new fleet of tankers? China will not only build them cheaper, they'll offer long-term maintenance, discounted port fees at Chinese-built terminals, and even favorable financing through a state bank. It's like buying a car with insurance, fuel, roadside assistance, and free garage access thrown in. No one else on Earth can match that deal. But there's more. China also controls the global supply of ship components, even for ships not built in China. European yards often rely on Chinese parts, unknowingly tying their future to their biggest competitor. So when a French or Korean builder wins a contract, there's a good chance Chinese suppliers are still getting paid. China wins even when it loses. This vertical integration isn't just efficiency, it's weaponization of supply chains. If China wanted to, it could squeeze component exports and paralyze global yards overnight. The threat is rarely spoken, but it's very real. In a geopolitical standoff, the world's ships might be stuck waiting on a missing bolt from Guangzhou. And once again, this didn't happen by accident. It was designed. China built not just a shipyard, but a monopoly, one screw, one deck, one port at a time. The military dimension. Now, peel back the curtain, and you'll see something even more unnerving. China's civilian shipbuilding boom is a camouflage net. Underneath, it lies one of the most aggressive naval expansion programs in modern history. Every commercial shipyard is dual use, meaning it can pivot to build military hardware on command. At Jiangnan alone, cargo ships share yards with destroyers and amphibious assault vessels. Satellite images show submarines emerging just weeks after cruise liners. There's no hard boundary. There's no delay. In wartime, the ramp-up would be instantaneous. China wouldn't need to mobilize. It would just switch tracks. The People's Liberation Army Navy plan is already the world's largest by number of ships, and many of those came from yards built under the guise of peaceful commerce. The overlap between civilian and military design teams means new technologies cross-pollinate. A breakthrough in fuel efficiency for a cargo ship, it's immediately applied to missile frigates. This structure allows China to hide military buildup in plain sight. No flashy launches, no dramatic press releases, just consistent, quiet, relentless growth. And if conflict ever comes, the world will realize it's not just fighting ships. It's fighting a shipbuilding system on military autopilot. And by then, it may be too late. The Western shipbuilding halt. So, where's everyone else in this story? Let's start with Japan. Once the global leader, it now hangs on by focusing on ultra-high-spec vessels. They still build, but the mass market is gone. Then there's South Korea, still fighting but bleeding. Their profit margins are razor thin, and labor costs continue to rise. Government bailouts keep the doors open, but the edge? It's dulled. Now let's talk about the United States. Outside of military contracts, U.S. commercial shipbuilding is virtually extinct. Yards are shuttered, workers retrained, and orders outsourced. America, the nation that once launched fleets to win world wars, now imports its maritime lifelines from the very nation it considers a strategic rival. Why? The reasons are many. High labor costs, regulatory red tape, offshoring, political disinterest, and most fatally, no national industrial strategy. While China treated shipbuilding like a national emergency, the West treated it like a sunset industry. And in the quiet, China built a navy, then a merchant fleet, then an empire. Maritime Empire 2.0. But China didn't stop at ships. It built the ports too. Under the Belt and Road Initiative, Chinese firms financed, built, and now operate dozens of strategic ports around the globe. In Sri Lanka, they own the keys. In Greece, they control the gates. In Djibouti, they've built a military outpost next to a commercial dock. These aren't random real estate plays. They're chess moves. If you control the shipyards and the ports, you control the arteries of globalization. You decide who moves goods, how fast, and under what rules. Contracts, not cannons, are the new empire. This model allows China to exercise influence without firing a shot. If a nation steps out of line, delay their shipments. If an ally needs help, prioritize port access. It's a new kind of power, soft, surgical, and terrifyingly effective. And the West still thinks it's about container ships. Environmental dominance. While most global players struggle to retrofit ships for environmental compliance, China is already ahead. They've embraced green ship tech like a religion. Methanol-powered ships, hybrid LNG carriers, low-sulfur tankers, and electric autonomous vessels. They're all being built now, not later in Shanghai and Guangzhou. This gives China a futuristic edge. As environmental standards tighten, Buyers are flocking to builders who can deliver compliant ships off the shelf. Western yards are stuck in research and prototypes. China is selling. And again, it's not just about emissions. It's about data. These next-gen vessels are digital platforms, constantly feeding information back to their creators. China isn't just building cleaner ships. It's creating an ocean-wide information network, powered by its own vessels. China's financial weaponry. The global shipbuilding industry doesn't operate on even terrain, and that's by design. China has turned its state-backed financial muscle into an industrial warhammer. While other nations offer modest tax credits or innovation grants, Chinese shipbuilders get full-throttle economic backing. We're talking low-interest loans from state-owned banks, direct cash infusions for expanding yards, and even discounts on raw materials like steel and copper, all under the radar of the global trade community. These subsidies don't just prop up struggling companies. They empower them to outcompete everyone else. Imagine bidding on a massive LNG tanker contract when your Chinese competitor has a 30% cost advantage before negotiations even begin. That's not competition. That's annihilation. And because Beijing is deeply embedded in every layer of the industry, from financing to logistics, there's no meaningful risk of collapse. Ironically, while the WTO occasionally raises concerns, enforcement is toothless. The very global institutions that should ensure fair trade are watching a superpower quietly tilt the board. And why would China stop? Every subsidy helps destroy a rival yard. Every loan builds more dominance. It's not cheating, it's a strategy. So next time someone says China is winning on efficiency, ask them to factor in trillions in invisible scaffolding. Because in this game, the invisible hands aren't free. They're centrally planned and relentlessly funded. The domestic loop. One of China's greatest strategic advantages in shipbuilding is something the West can't replicate: massive domestic demand. With the world's largest export economy and a rapidly expanding naval force, China orders more ships for itself than most nations could dream of exporting. This self-fed demand creates a production flywheel. Shipyards stay busy, workers stay trained, and economies of scale crush global rivals. Here's the kicker. Even if foreign orders vanished overnight, Chinese yards would still be building. Container ships for Alibaba's logistics empire, oil tankers for state-owned refineries, naval vessels for the South China Sea, ferries, dredgers, icebreakers. The demand never stops. And every domestic build becomes a test bed for new technologies that are then exported abroad with proven results. The West can't compete with that loop. American or European builders must fight for every external order and justify every investment. China builds first, sells later. That's why they can deliver faster, cheaper, and with more features. It's not just a competitive edge, it's a structural superpower. And this loop means something else too. Every ship that leaves a Chinese yard, military or civilian, benefits from this endless refinement cycle. While the rest of the world tries to win one contract at a time, China's already moved on to building the entire future fleet. We've talked about steel, subsidies, and scale. But there's one layer that ties it all together, and it's invisible: data. The modern Chinese-built vessel isn't just a ship. It's a floating sensor array. Every radar, every fuel gauge, every course correction, all of it feeds data back to Chinese manufacturers and software developers. These aren't passive machines. They learn, they evolve, and they transmit. Why does that matter? Because over time, China has amassed one of the largest maritime telemetry datasets on Earth. This allows it to fine-tune future ship designs, anticipate maintenance failures, and optimize logistics down to the last nautical mile. While the West is still transitioning to predictive analytics, China is already deploying AI-driven control systems to manage entire fleets in near real time. This data isn't just used to improve efficiency. In the context of dual-use infrastructure, it can map sea lanes, track military deployments, and gather environmental data, all without triggering a single alarm. It's power in a more subtle form, not bombs or blockades, but bandwidth. So when you see a Chinese container ship pass by, you're not just looking at a delivery vessel. You're watching a node in a global surveillance and optimization network. It's the 21st century equivalent of carrier pigeons with satellite phones. Smart, scalable, and silent. It's not just about dominating the seas. It's about knowing everything that moves across them. Your smartphone, your car, your food, all touched a ship. And odds are, that ship was made in China. This isn't a story about steel hulls. It's about who controls the lifeblood of the global economy. And right now, China does. Every new vessel launched, every port leased, every naval ship disguised as civilian. It's all part of a bigger blueprint. So next time you order something online and it arrives on time, know this: it's sailed on China's empire. An empire built not on old-fashioned war, but on cranes, contracts, and quiet efficiency. If that's not worth a like, a comment, or a subscription, I don't know what is. Welcome to the people's shipyard of planet Earth.